Hello, everybody. Tokyo Drew 85. Although last time my editor pointed out to me that I didn't say 85, so Tokyo Drew 85. Today I wanted to discuss gaming opinions, officially retro gaming opinions. So I feel like gaming nowadays, especially retro gaming, has almost become kind of like a style nowadays. And there's just these generally accepted opinions that I feel like nobody really challenges because they're just so widely accepted that, for whatever reason, nobody really plays the games themselves to really find out. So I wanted to go over a couple of unpopular opinions that I have personally about some of these games. One of them being the first Legend of Zelda, in my opinion, is just not that good of a game. Which, again, isn't that unpopular, but when I follow it up with Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link is better, then I feel like I'll probably get some pushback for that. And I mean, main reasons for thinking so is the first Zelda in general, I feel like, is unplayable nowadays. I mean, you could arguably find the sword in the first dungeon, but then after that, there are clues here and there about where the other dungeons possibly are, but nothing's really definitive. And I find if you don't have a walkthrough, I mean, I played the game with a walkthrough, and even when the game was new, Nintendo Power had a walkthrough. I just feel like it's a little archaic nowadays. And the game has no towns. Like, you play the game, there's no towns. Everybody lives in caves. It's like a post-apocalyptic world in the game. And I feel like a lot of the people who have that opinion have not played either game to even have that opinion. Zelda 2, I feel like, is a much more cohesive game. Like, there's towns, there's villages, people actually give you good information. You can easily find all the dungeons, and you have enough clues to get through the game without looking through a walkthrough. The only time you might need one is in the last Golden Palace, because there's a couple of bullcrap moments in there where you have to like walk through, and not an invisible wall, but you have to like walk through a wall. But other than that, the game is a much more playable and fleshed out than the first Zelda is. I know people complain about the style, like, oh, they went with this 2D side-scrolling style. It's like, yeah, because 2D side-scrollers, especially for Nintendo, were very popular back then. And this is the second game in the series, so they had no established format yet. So obviously when they did A Link to the Past, they went back to the top-down format. But again, you can't criticize the game for that. It was the second game in the series. So they tried something different, and side-scrolling action games were very popular back then. So it's really not a weird choice retroactively. Well, now it seems weird because it's the only game that has that format, but for that time period, it makes sense. Those were the popular games at the time. A second unpopular opinion that I have is the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. The temple itself is actually very straightforward. You go in, you pretty much get led down to the base by Princess Ruto. You drain the water, and you pretty much go to each area to raise it back up till you fight the boss. The main problem with the Water Temple, I'll say, there's one very missable key. But the problem with the key itself is that you won't notice it's missing until one of the very last doors you come to that has the boss key in it. And then when you realize it, I mean, if you have the compass, you could see it on your map, but then you realize you have to backtrack to get this key. But if you do it while you're playing through the dungeon, like in the middle of it, when you raise the water one level, you just gotta backtrack to one area and get the key, and you're good to go. And then after that, the other areas are only accessible by the long shot. So really, it's just, you just follow the flow of the temple, and you'll just go right through it. And the only other part I would say to that is getting to the Serpent River is tricky because the block is behind the treasure chest where you get the long shot. And I missed that myself. I remember playing the game when it was new, and I missed that myself, and I had to actually get a guide to figure that out. But again, I feel like that's one of those opinions that just like is around and people just accept. And again, I feel like most of the people didn't play Ocarina of Time or the Water Temple itself. So, and to give you another reason why I think that I work at a retail store, and I work with some of the younger people there, and this girl wore a Majora's Mask shirt, and I was all ready to talk Majora's Mask with her, and then I asked her about the shirt, and she didn't even play the game. Has the shirt, doesn't play the game. And I found here and there more and more of these younger kind of gaming crowd doesn't play the games. That's why I said before, I feel like it's more of a style than actually people playing these games. So it's just something I've noticed, and it's kind of annoying. But I mean, it's trendy. I guess I can't get too mad at it, but it's just something else I've noticed, especially with the younger generation. And then finally, I would say my third unpopular opinion is Wind Waker. I feel now it's a good game, but it wasn't before. And what I mean by that is the original GameCube version, you know, when it launched, I understand it had a bunch of development issues, like it was rushed, it had a lot of cut content, including dungeons and characters, and that's also why the ocean is kind of desolate in a lot of parts. But as you're playing through the game, especially in the GameCube version, you have to go through all these. Once you do the main dungeons, you have to get the Triforce of Courage. You have to collect all 8 shards, and you gotta get the Triforce charge. It's 800 rupees per. It's like the most tedious thing. Well, besides getting the Korok seeds and Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, but it is extremely tedious to do that. Which is why, and now when I say it's become a great game, is if you get the Wii U version of it, which again, it's not seeing a Switch port, so everybody needs to let that go. It's not happening. You got Skyward Sword HD, and that's it. But the Wii U port of it has something called the Swift Sail, and what it essentially does is it doubles the speed of your boat and also changes the direction of the wind where your boat faces. So you tilt your boat to face a different direction, the wind automatically changes. As opposed to the original game, we get to stop every 2 seconds, especially if you fly past an island. You gotta turn the boat around, you conduct the song on the Wind Waker to change the direction of the wind over and over again, especially when you're in one of those Cannon Valley places where you have to get a treasure map. And I just feel like after playing that version of the game a few times, the GameCube version to me is unplayable. Like, I can't play that game anymore. Between all the Triforce charts and the control of the boat is just like, to me, is unreasonable now. And another thing they did was too is that they fixed the Triforce quest. Like, instead of getting charts, where the charts would be, you just get a Triforce piece. And they just streamlined the game so much better. Like, to me, the original version of Wind Waker is just totally and completely unplayable now. Granted that I did play it when it was new, but the HD version of it is just so much better, and to me, it's a much more playable game. With that said, I mean, I don't want this video to go on too long, but that's just some of the unpopular gaming opinions that I have, and let me know what you think some unpopular gaming opinions are that you have. I'm sure there's plenty of them, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and have a good day.